When the door to your dream home swings open, you expect relief. Instead, I discovered I'd been sold a lie. 5 months after moving in, I found out the freehold property was really a strata title, and the person who sold it to me refused to take responsibility. So I did what he never expected. This is how patient revenge looks. If you've ever been betrayed, underestimated, or felt powerless, stick around. Because today's story is for anyone who's ever wanted justice served. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe because we're diving into a revenge story you'll feel in your bones. I saved up for a decade. Every paycheck I tucked away. Every weekend I sacrificed a little pleasure. I was single on a mortgage and I knew the trade-offs. The place would have to be shared in some way. But I wanted mine. A refuge. A quiet corner I could call home. And finally, 7 years ago, I found it. A shared block property, cheaper, manageable. The listing said freehold title. No strata rules, no communal fund dictating how I lived. Just me, my space, my life, because I'm introverted. I value quiet. I value privacy. I'd worked my ass off for this. When I signed, I felt it in the marrow of my bones. This was my victory. I walked the hallways, tested how the floor creaked under my foot. I sat in the living room with a cup of coffee and let the silence fill me. It was good. Real good, easy enough on the surface. But I knew there would be compromises like paying public liability insurance for the shared walkway. Fine. Split between owners. Acceptable. Manageable. 5 months later, a knock at the door. The landlord of the unit next door. He wants to talk about the insurance. I nod. I get a copy of the policy just for my records. I open it. And the breath freezes in my chest. It's not a freehold title. It's a strata title. The listing, the emails, the conversation, they all said freehold. The paperwork, strata. My gut gives a twist. My stomach tightens into a knot I can't ignore. My lawyer is dumbfounded. Why? Because I trusted the agent. Local. He's 3 degrees removed. Friends of friends. Knew him by name. Felt safe, but the safety was an illusion. The listing had lied. The agent refused to accept fault, refused to offer anything to make things right. I sat across from him, documents spread out like evidence in a courtroom. His face blank. His words, not my mistake. Inside I was boiling. My chest hammered. My palms were damp. I forced my face to stay calm. I looked around my new home, my safe space, and suddenly it felt fragile. I felt undercut. I felt like someone had whispered, "You're less than you thought you were." I had worked for 10 years. And this agent, like a puppeteer in a cheap suit, pulled the strings. I felt betrayed, disrespected. My introverted heart recoiled at the idea that someone else controlled the rules of my home. I had envisioned freedom. Instead, bylaws. Shared walls, shared rights, shared control. I felt small. And I resented it. I entered mediation. My ask was simple. When I go to sell you, cover costs or do the sale. That seemed fair. I was duped. A mistake on the listing, but the agent, he offered me $1,000 to go away. $1,000, a slap. I refused, because it was more than money. It was principle. It was validation. It was, you sold me a lie, you own the consequences. My lawyer advised, take legal action. Go court, make him pay. I weighed my options. But my health, it wasn't great at the time. The stress? I decided no. I walked away from the fight, but not from the plan. So I sat in my living room. Late night, lamp on. Paperwork spread across coffee table. I tapped a pen against my notebook. What can I do? I thought. My heart thrummed with a weird mix of anger and calculation. I promised myself, you're not going to forget. He's going to remember. I found his Facebook page and touched privacy settings. I found details of his Boys on Tour trip a few weeks after I bought the property. I found his business registration and address. I had names, dates, clues. The air in the room felt sharp like static before a storm. I inhaled. I leaned forward, heart pounding. I typed L in a note, looked at the date of my sale anniversary. Set it in my mind. The date became a marker. On the anniversary of the sale for 6 consecutive years, 6 times, I sent flowers to his home. Each note read like this: Dear real estate agent, remembering you on this our special day. She has your eyes. Love, L. The first time I did it, I felt a thrill like I hadn't felt in years. My pulse raced. I pictured him reading it confused. I imagined his heart skipping when he realized who L might be. The second year, I changed the flowers. Same day. Slight variation. Still thinking of you? Love, Ellie. The third, I sent a postcard from the country of his boys on tour trip. Wish you were here. Love, L. By the fourth year, I felt calm, controlled. This was no longer about fast revenge. It was about long game, tension, uncertainty. Every year the date arrived. I leaned into the silence. I watched him from afar. During those years I lived quietly in my home. But inside I carried a secret. I was no longer powerless. I held the strings. I remember one evening after the flowers arrived. I'm sitting with my tea, the kettle hissed steam curling upward. My phone buzzed with a message from a mutual friend. Hey, did you see the blooms at his door again? Cold, delicious. My stomach fluttered. My chest loosened, my cheeks warmed. I realized I had smiles on my lips. For the first time, I felt seen. Not by him, but by myself. I felt the pavement under my shoes as I walked away from the mailbox. I felt the crisp bite of autumn air on my cheeks. I felt the pulse of justice, slow but steady, the agent, smooth talker. Local guy who whispered dreams, listed freehold when it was not, refused responsibility. He saw a single person buying their first home. He saw someone maybe naive. He sold a dream with loopholes, then his boys' tour trip. The holiday, the photos, the laughs. The absence of consequence, that would change, and years later, the wife found the dozen flowers. The postcards, the notes, pieces that didn't add up. She connected dots. Standard humiliations followed. Divorce, loss of business, loss of home. The agent is no longer a real estate agent. Rumor has it he lost half his retirement savings. Karma hitting like a freight train. So here's the payoff. 6 years of quiet pressure. 6 years of subtle reminders. And one day, I hear he's divorced. I hear he's lost his home and business. Through mutual friends of friends. I feel the release. I imagine the scene. Him opening the door. The note sits there. He reads, "Our special day." He glances at the date. His face flushes. The realization dawns. He's always had someone else's anniversary stamp on his memory. He never knew when. He never knew how. And now the world around him changes. The job gone. The home gone. The wife gone. The facade crumbles. And is sitting in my little home, safe, peaceful, sip my tea. I lean back in my chair. I allow a slow exhale. I nod. I feel not just relief, but validation. I did not break the law. I didn't rage publicly. I played the long game. He paid for what he did, and I won. In silence. Because here's the truth. You don't get to sell someone a lie and walk away scot-free. You don't get to treat someone else's life like a transaction without consequences. I didn't set out to destroy him. I set out to restore my dignity. To assert I matter. My home matters. My truth matters. His downfall? It was a byproduct of his own actions. The lies, the cheating, the disregard. Karma, yes, but I helped it along. And that's the kind of payoff we crave. The person who thought they were invisible finds out they weren't. The underdog flips the script. The betrayed becomes the orchestrator of justice. So what do we take from this? That patience can be a tool. That justice doesn't always scream, it sometimes whispers for years. That you don't have to be loud to win. And that sometimes the person you hurt will face consequence, not because you attacked them, but because they attacked themselves. If you've ever felt powerless, disrespected, undervalued, remember, you still hold the power of your story. If this story gave you chills or made you wonder what you would do, smash that like button and tell me in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever heard or experienced? And of course, subscribe for more stories like this because sometimes justice is quiet, sometimes it's slow, and always worth the wait.